Good morning, children. Sairam. Today we'll start with the chapter from your English course book, chapter number 11. The Next Voice You Hear by George Sumner Albee. Most of the philosophers and scientists claim that we are one among the millions of galaxies in the world. When we zoom out and look at ourselves, we are nothing but passing shades or specks in the universe. There is someone or something that governs the universe. Do you agree? Let us read about the history of radio. Whose picture is this? Guglielmo Marconi. What was he famous for? He was famous for his pioneering work on long-distance radio transmission. 20 years after the telephone was invented and music was first sent down a telephone line, Guglielmo Marconi sent radio signals. Guglielmo Marconi studied at the University of Bologna. Fascinated by Heinrich Hertz's discovery of radio waves, he realized that they could be used for sending and receiving telegraph messages, referring to it as wireless telegraphs. Marconi's first radio transmissions in 1896 were coded signals that were transmitted only about a mile, that is 1.6 kilometer far. So coded signals were there, that is Morse code, dot and dash. He moved to England, took out a patent and experimented further. Took out a patent. Patent means he got the official right to make, sell the product or an invention. So here nobody can copy it. In 1898, Marconi flashed the results of the Kingstown Regatta to the offices of a Dublin newspaper, thus making a sports event the first public broadcast. Marconi flashed the results of the sports event to the office of Dublin, which is in Ireland. So this is the first time a long distance radio transmission was done. But far away in distant Kolkata, Jagdish Chandra Bose had not only researched but publicly demonstrated the use of radio waves by 1895. Just 1 year before Marconi did it, Jagdish Chandra Bose in Kolkata, he had researched and publicly shown the people the use of radio waves. Not only was the Indian's research ignored in the face of his European contemporary, Bose, ever the idealist, refused to take out a patent and make money from research that would be of no use to humanity. Where Marconi was keenly interested in commercializing radio, Bose's interest was purely academic. At that time, India was under the British rule. Maybe that is why his research was ignored. And moreover, Bose was an idealist. He never wanted to make money. If he gets the patent of it, he will make money. But then he never wanted to make money which would not help the humanity. Whereas Marconi was very much interested in commercializing radio. That is why he got the patent to get money. But Bose was purely academic. He was only interested in the research work, not for making money. The next year, Marconi opened the first radio factory in Chelmsford, Essex, and established a radio link between Britain and France. A link with the USA was established in 1901. In 1909, Marconi shared the Nobel Prize in Physics for his wireless telegraph. However, most of the world is still unaware of Bose. So we find so many countries got connected due to this radio transmission. In 1909, he got the Nobel Prize, whereas many people still don't know about Jagdish Chandra Bose. Before starting with the lesson, let us know about the author, George Sumner Albee. He wrote a number of novels, including Girl on the Beach, Three Young Kings, and By the Sea. He had started writing short stories at the age of 12. One, The Next Voice You Hear, appeared in Cosmopolitan, that is magazine, in 1948 and was adapted to a Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer motion picture released under the same title in 1950. Let me give you a background of the story. In this story, the writer has created a character of God who, in a desperate last attempt to save the world, chooses a voice to reach all the people on earth. The theme of the story is peace and harmony, with very strong anti-war undertones. One evening, people hear a voice over the radio. It identifies itself as the voice of God. Though people don't believe it at first, the next time God addresses the world, miracles begin to take place on a regular basis in their lives. God's intent in doing this is to pass the message of love and peace to human beings. God wants human beings to love one another and save the planet and themselves from destruction. Now let's start with the lesson. At exactly 9:38 p.m. on the first Monday in March, the strange, majestic voice was first heard over the airwaves. Just why that day and hour were chosen, nobody can say. In any event, the immediate reaction was disbelief. People simply could not believe their own ears. So at what time they heard a voice? 9:38 p.m. Okay? And the voice was majestic, very royal voice. And first time they could hear it. But what was the reaction? People were not believing it. Floyd Uffelman of Doylestown, USA, was down in the cellar playing with his son Lyman's electric train and following a quiz program on his portable radio. Suddenly, the program faded out and that voice, deep, gentle, benevolent but firm, said, "This is God. I'm sorry, I must interrupt you." What's the meaning of benevolent? Kind. What was Floyd doing in the cellar? He was playing with his son's electric train and hearing a quiz program on his portable radio. But then what happened? Suddenly the program stopped, and in place of that, a voice started speaking. What did it say? "This is God. I'm sorry, I must interrupt you." Let's see what happens. Here, see the picture of Floyd. See his reaction when he hears the voice on the radio. A plan of creation ought by rights to go forward under its own rules. But you, dear children of the sun's third planet, are so near to destroying yourselves, I must step in. I shall spend this week with you. Floyd stood for a moment gaping. I am sure Lyman set up a microphone in his room. He climbed to his son's room. What did the voice say? That it was God. And God said that you people, children of sun's third planet, that is Earth. And what are you doing? You are made to bring about a development for your kind. But then you people are destroying yourself. So God has to step in. And that is why God will be spending 1 week with them. Floyd was surprised. He looked at the radio and he thought that maybe his son has set a microphone in his room. And so from the basement he went to his son's room. Lyman was sitting with one foot in his hand, agonizing over arithmetic problems. What did you do to the radio? Demanded his father. Me? Nothing. Is it broken? The boy asked. Floyd was deeply puzzled. He went next door to his neighbor, Jean Huckel. What's the meaning of agonizing? Worrying. He found his son trying to solve arithmetic problems. So when he asked his son about the radio, the boy thought that maybe it is broken, but then Floyd understood. This boy also doesn't know what has happened. Okay, so he went to his neighbor. Who was the neighbor? Jean Huckel. Jean, Floyd said, were you listening to the quiz show just now? No, answered Jean. Lux Radio Theatre. Then I guess you wouldn't have heard it, Floyd said. Say, did you hear it too? Asked Jean in astonishment. Wasn't that most peculiar? When Floyd asked Jean that whether he was listening to the quiz show, he said that he was listening to Lux Radio Theatre. Then Floyd thought maybe he has not heard it, but then Jean also have heard it. So he found it very strange. Doylestown was not the only town that felt wonderment. By morning, the news reports from Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, and Australia were in. And it was public knowledge that the broadcast had been worldwide and multilingual. So, what is multilingual? In many languages. So, what do you find? That this announcement was broadcasted everywhere, not only in Doylestown, but everywhere in the world. And it was also in many languages, not only one language, right? Arabs heard the announcement in Arabic and South African tribesmen in Shironga dialect. What do you think of it? One man would ask another. Never were the humble words, I don't know, spoken oftener than that first Tuesday in March. The Arabs heard the announcement in Arabic language and the South African tribesmen heard the announcement in their language. People were finding it very strange that the voice was talking in their language, and they started discussing what do they think about that voice. Nobody knew the answer, so they started saying, I don't know. The announcement was made on Monday, and Tuesday people started saying, I don't know. So many times they said that never before they have said these humble words so many times. The sun went down. By 8, the ammeters in the power stations were registering increased loads. Nor were listeners disappointed. Exactly at 9:38 p.m., the serene, friendly voice spoke again. Do not be afraid. I only want to convince you that I really am God and that I am visiting you this week. What is ammeters? It's an instrument used to measure electric current in a circuit. Here you have the picture of ammeter. By 8 p.m., the ammeters, they started registering increased loads. Everybody wanted to listen to God. But they were not disappointed, because exactly at 9:38 p.m., the serene, that is calm, friendly voice spoke again. God said, people, you should believe that I am God and that He is visiting them that week. This time, direction finders attempted by means of radio signals to identify its position while the voice was on the air. But no sign of trickery was discovered. So the direction finders, they tried to find with the help of radio signals to see from where this voice is coming, whether somebody is playing a trick, but they could not find anything. On Wednesday, the newspapers devoted page after page to the voice. The unanimous view of those scientists who could be reached for comment, some of them seemed to be hiding, was that the voice was a man's. If it were actually God speaking, pointed out a professor of logic, he would not find it necessary to use the radio. Ministers of gospel were more reserved in their statements. Even if the voice be not the Lord's, said an Anglican bishop, it reminds us of something too many of us forget. God is here with us. Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday. Wednesday you find all the newspapers writing about that voice, page after page. And the scientists were asked to comment. Some scientists were, they commented, but some went into hiding. But they unanimous means they completely agreed that the voice was that of a man. Now, a professor of logic, what he said? If it were actually God speaking, he said that if the voice was of God, then he wouldn't have used the radio as a means of communication. He could have done it another way, right? Now, what about the ministers of gospel? Ministers of gospel means a priest of the church. Now, the Anglican bishop is a priest of higher order. What did he say? He says that even if the voice is not that of God's, it reminds us that what we always forget, What we always forget? That God is here with us. So it tells us that God is always there with us. With this, children, we come to the end of today's session. I hope you have understood whatever I have discussed with you all. So, the rest of the story will complete in the next session. Thank you. Have a nice day.